Alrighty, I've covered a lot of rational basis and knowledge type shit so far, but this is where we get into pretty much the core reason I wanted to make this guide in the first place. The part that I feel like most other guides won't help you with. The part that players have been strong for a long time might not even know how to discuss and might not be able to sympathize with, and for that base I'm talking about psychology. Of course, sure, if you're a weak player who's tried to seek help from stronger players before and looked for other guides, you probably heard a lot of what I've already talked about so far. I mean, what do you hear from people when you ask, like, say, let's say you're like a low rank, like a silver rank or something, and you show your matches? What does someone say? Anti-air better? Check more dashes? Make less risky decisions on defense, perhaps? Watch your replays? Punish things more consistently? That kind of advice? To a lot of weak players, that's like telling them the sky is blue. That's a bunch of no shit Sherlock situations. I watched a bunch of beginner guides from other people, especially from high-level players, before writing this guide, and one of the ones that piqued my interest was the one that Silos posted on YouTube for how to get from rookie rank to diamond rank with Sakura. Now, I'm not trying to strictly, shit on all of these other guides that exist. Go ahead and watch them. There's some value in them. You might learn something new, or be able to visualize better what's being described, or get a different perspective. However, the point is, Silo basically made arbitrary rules for himself for each rank and more or less tooled his own play in accordance with these rules of lower-level skill in order to mimic, or try to mimic, the play of weaker players to show that certain things are just very simple, you know? But the problem is, all of this completely ignores a couple of stark realities. The most obvious thing it ignores is that CeeLo already knows about all the situations in the game and how best to punish and move and avoid things and frame data and spacing and animations and shit like that. But more importantly, ignores the fact that CeeLo's is a strong player, mentally speaking. CeeLo's moves in ways that a weaker player wouldn't. He has a better sense of space than weaker players. He's much, much, much better at predicting the behaviors of his opponents than weaker players. He doesn't panic. He doesn't get distracted. He doesn't get, he's cognizant of more factors at once. He's aware of his resources. He can keep more items within his mental stack at once. He doesn't autopilot. His execution is much more consistent, even under pressure. He's faster to respond to situations he wasn't already anticipating, so on and so forth. Put simply, his head stays on while he plays, and he has a sense of what he needs to do to win all the time. For instance, it's very normal for weaker players to lose track of a clear winning game plan or the frequency with which they do things that are necessary for the game plan. A weak player might feel that they play well as they can in neutral, they don't make that many mistakes, but in reality, they never made any aggressive plays. When they get a knockdown, they just do some safe block string. They autopilot to the same, block string. They don't go for, throw or more aggressive things, resulting in extremely low offensive, and in neutral, they definitely don't make offensive players, resulting in extremely low offensive power over the course of a set, which is why they lost, even though it seems they followed all the rules, quote-unquote, and made very few mistakes. But moment to moment, they feel that they're doing pretty well. They punish the punishable stuff. They anti-air pretty good, pretty okay, things like that. When strong players tell weak players, oh, just do this in this situation, or just do that in this specific situation, it negates all the other extremely important stuff a player that needs to add on to those things that perhaps they just aren't remembering to do so throughout a match. Actually damage the opponent. Sure, you could anti-air better, but then you would need to actually get reward from it. You need to push, or you need to, continue to play safe neutral to open up the opponent. You actually have to get reward from it, Gradually bulldog to the corner, stuff like that. These are not things you can observe through a 2-second clip of you making some kind of mistake that you could have made differently. And even then, that doesn't tell the context of your mental stack and why you might have made the mistake in the first place, and how you could possibly avoid it. It's not so easy to just say, oh, anti-air better, and your hands will just do the job for you all the time. You have to watch your play over the course of a whole match and see the big trends and think about what you might not be doing, and that you could or should be doing. Now, as a fairly mentally scattered ADHD autist, I've been a weak player for a long time, relatively speaking. Not for a lack of knowing, objectively, what should be different about my play. Not because I needed someone to state the brain-dead obvious fact that, oh, I could have anti-aired this or punished this or something, but because my mind was weak at playing. My mind is weak at playing, I should say. It's not like I'm cured of mental weakness. See, even applying the most simplistic tools to your game plan is difficult if you constantly lose focus, if you struggle to respond to chaotic situations, if your mind becomes easily overwhelmed by things happening, if you're easily distracted, if you have trouble keeping things in your short-term memory, which affects your ability to recognize patterns or notice when you're constantly making mistakes until immediately after the fact. None of that even comes close to the hornet's nest that is trying to read your opponent accurately. Things like footsies, which is heavily read-based, and anything else involving guessing and making choices, which is most of the game, people tend to not strictly talk about as a means of improvement, mostly because they're too abstract to really directly train. You know, if you lose because you guess wrong a lot, there's only so much you can do or someone can tell you to, like, improve at your guessing abilities. You can't go into training mode and run a trial that will help you guess better. Footsies especially tends to be discussed in these really vague sentiments where you're constantly being told how deep and four-dimensional galaxy brain footsies are, whilst being given no real explicit information on how to improve your own, beyond employing more tools that might just be too difficult for you with your current, like smaller window hit confirms or extremely fast whiff punishes, you know, shit like that, which are technical and not abstract. Now, here's the way I see it. In fighting games, let's just say in this game, you have lots of different aspects that give you advantages and disadvantages, and those advantages add up to determine your general likelihood of victory over an opponent. These factors include your situational knowledge, your combo optimization, your meter management, your defense, your offense, and multiple aspects of your mental state, and more. Now, for a strong player, it's entirely possible to go into lower ranks and just remove some of their own tools, like not use offense, not use optimal combos or optimal punishes or defensive choices, and so on. A weak player can cut out a huge amount of stuff from their toolkit, a strong player can cut out a huge amount of stuff from their toolkit because they still have the overwhelming advantage of their vastly superior mental skills and mental stability. However, a weak player, a new player, they don't have those mental powers, those skills. They might not have that stability. As such, they lack the advantage they need to win by doing the same thing as the pro player, by removing half their toolkit. They need to make up for their weaknesses and gain an advantage back in their favor. Sure, you can get to silver rank without applying any offense or using any resources, just like anti-airing and poking and shit, no combos, but I don't expect a weaker player to be able to do that. Even top-level players miss anti-airs they could have reacted to. They fail to block cross-up jump-ins the right way that weren't necessarily ambiguous. They will miss punishes, and so on and so forth. So if the players with the absolute best mental stability for this game sometimes fail to do these things, even though they know they should, what do you think happens to weaker players? In any case, all of this is why, if your mind is weak, you fail to do things that you know already that you're supposed to do, not for a lack of trying. If you consistently guess wrong or otherwise get lost in the neutral, if you fail to see the bigger picture while playing, if you get locked into like hyper-focusing on one certain thing that you don't have to, if you don't recognize patterns or otherwise fail to capitalize on those patterns, any mental blockade, if you did something you felt that should have worked and then it suddenly didn't and you get distracted by that, by thinking about why it didn't work, you know, all these are mental blockades that prevent you from doing the things that other guides just very simplistically say, oh, just do this and you'll rank up. Then, I will now attempt to help you improve your mental stability and mental skills. So between mental skills that help you make better predictions and mental skills that allow you to execute upon things you already know you should be executing upon, it's very clear which of those is more important. Now, the setting you play in is somewhat significant when we're talking about your mental condition. The setting heavily impacts your mental state, as well as the nature of making reads. Playing randos online is very different from playing against friends, which is different from competing in a tournament setting. They all put a different sort of pressure on you, and provide you with a different sort of level of comfort or discomfort. There's certain assumptions that you make based on the setting. For instance, when you fight in a tournament, you go in with some degree of expectation that you're fighting someone who takes the game seriously and is trying their very best to win and go far in the bracket. When you play online, you don't really get this promise. So, The first thing we need to do is have some control over our environment, enough to be able to focus on our mental state. If you're playing online, regardless of how frequently you get matches, if you're trying to improve just about any skill in the game, you should not play in a laggy environment, period. Make sure you have as good of a connection as you possibly can. Play wired, not on Wi-Fi. Once you're confident that your own numbers are solid, blacklist anyone if playing against them creates consistent and noticeable lag. Even a small delay makes a massive difference in your ability to see what is happening. It might eat your inputs. You might not see the opponent take a small step back because the rollback makes it them teleport forwards. You'll get false info to base your choices on, and you suddenly have to deal with the shock of seeing some piece of data that was wrong, that was given to you incorrectly. C, you have conscious reactions and instinctive reactions, and even if it's not true and it only came about because of lag, seeing something, small or large, will trigger a reaction in your mind. If what you see gets rolled back by the game, your mind is already working on some completely different equation. It's not just a matter of, say, being able to react to this one thing, but you have slightly less time to see it coming because of the lag. No, that's not how it works. Not only do you have slightly less time because of the lag, oftentimes your brain is already making a different calculation based on what it already saw. So your brain is in even less of a state to then suddenly correct itself and adjust to the new visual information that you have. This impacts everything. All movement in footsies becomes impossible to keep track of or make observations on. When the walking back and forth looks like fucking short-range teleporting, buttons won't come out right when the inputs get eaten, hit confirms won't be clean, everything just gets way worse. If you're trying to improve something about your play, you should not play in these conditions, period. And frankly, you shouldn't have to. The game was built to be played at 60 FPS with no delay or teleporting. So yeah, blacklist laggy opponents. Try to find battle lounges with opponents you have consistently good connections with, so on. If you have trouble getting matches, try different days of the week. Sometimes you can find people on Discord servers or Reddits that you can connect with directly. You want to play a variety of different people, but playing long sets with a single opponent is often much more valuable than playing a single set and then moving on. See, one of the mental skills that is weak in beginner players is the ability to adapt. Even if you know what you could be doing differently, it can be a challenge to see the bigger picture, force your hands and instincts to do something differently over a set, notice the places where you can make definite changes to your game plan, and remembering to make those changes while you're playing, and not just autopiloting to your usual strategies and actions, and executing upon those changes without making mistakes. A strong player can adapt pretty quickly, within a few rounds or even within a single round. A weaker player can still adapt, but the process will just be slower. If you only play ranked and fight singular opponents that you never fight again, you might not make the adaptations you need to within the single set, and you can easily feel like you didn't grow because of that fight. But if you fought that same player for 10 sets in a row, it'd be much easier to see yourself making the adjustments and see yourself improving. And again, this can depend on your opponent. You might be playing against someone who is also improving at the same time as you are. They're improving against you just like you're improving against them, so you won't necessarily even win more frequently against them as you continue to fight them. However, most people playing fighting games, most of them, the vast majority, just by the statistics, do not improve quickly. If you fight someone of a similar rank to yourself in a battle lounge, you're much more likely to find someone who doesn't really change or improve much as you play against them than you are to find a player that is in your skill bracket but is also fluid in their improvement. When you play, I would actually recommend trying to reach out to a bunch of players that you fight against, especially ones that you beat badly or that beat you badly, and see if they're up for doing longer sets in battle lounges. Of course, a lot of players won't agree to this just by nature of numbers. If you message a lot of players, some of them will agree to spar with you. This is something that is always within your power regardless of how long you play the game or what rank you reach. After that, we should talk about comfort and your game plan, which I keep bringing up. See, it's very common for players to become very uncomfortable playing against playstyles that they are not familiar with or haven't gotten used to, or find off-putting. Generally, for beginner players, extremely aggressive play is hard to deal with. See, fast play is difficult for a few reasons. When you're dealing with fast play, you have less time to think for yourself calmly, less time to make calculated data and logical decisions, and the more different things an opponent does, the more different things you as a player have to watch out for them doing. For instance, if we're going to go to training mode and make some character do one of their strongest moves in neutral or something, let's just say, let's have Birdie do standing heavy punch, which isn't that strong anymore, but whatever. And then you practice whiff punishing it on reaction. You can probably manage to whiff punish his standing heavy punch, even if he's like walking around and doing it randomly. But if you fight a real human player using Birdie that's doing a million different things at once, dashing at you, doing like EX dolphin dives or whatever, all sorts of different buttons at different spacings, special moves like EX bullhead, and then all of a sudden comes flailing in that standing heavy punch, and you could have whiff punished it, but there's so many different animations, so many things you need to be looked out for to react to quickly, you probably won't react to that standing heavy punch with a whiff punish, if you were not particularly reading it coming. People who make lots of different decisions quickly are tricky, because it kind of blows up your mental stack, and it can be very difficult to clinically and safely determine how to dismantle it. This is, in a part of a matter of guessing and prediction, which I will cover, but first, as I said, I want to focus on the subject of your own mental state, and the fact of the matter is, these sorts of things can really throw you off your game. To play well, you need to be comfortable. Professional sports players often talk about the importance of being relaxed and also focused, a delicate like middle ground that can be hard to find. If you're not relaxed, your mental state will suffer. Your brain's processing power grinds to a halt, you make hasty decisions, and your reaction speed becomes pathetically slow because of all the second guessing your brain is doing, and otherwise because of the overcorrections your brain is making. Take, for example, a situation in which your opponent does, say, random sweeps in weird situations in neutral, like after a block string. Totally punishable sweeps if you blocked them. They feel hard to predict, and they don't make logical sense to you, so it's difficult for you to read them and block them when they're coming. I mean, why would the opponent throw out such a risky move in this situation? That confusion over the illogical decision he's doing can lend you to have more anxiety over the move than you really realistically need to have. If you don't adapt to it at all, you feel that it can become a problem for you if you keep getting hit by it. But if you overcorrect and just spend the whole match, like, tooling your whole game plan because you're now suddenly in fear of random sweeps that might come out at any moment, and you don't apply much offense, you don't back off, you just crouch block in sweep range all day, as soon as he's in range to do it, then it ends up being way more of a detriment to your success than it needs to be. Your attempt to adapt to his weird thing is actually just you shutting down entirely. The discomfort makes you sabotage yourself, probably without even realizing it. That you're removing a huge number of the things in your game plan that are positive risk-reward. This is why it's so important to be comfortable, relaxed, confident. Don't give a shit about getting hit by 9 out of 10 sweeps. Just block the 10th one. You don't need to block all of them. You don't need to believe that you'll win, but you need to play the game and, like, go for shit, you know? You can't let one thing that doesn't match up with your assumptions or calculations make you completely reevaluate how you play the game plan. Which is why I say it's better to stick to your established game plan for each situation and try to make minor adjustments while sticking to your game plan than it is to just upend your whole game plan because it doesn't seem to be working. And sometimes, you know, like, another very common situation is where players tend to abandon their game plan unnecessarily because they feel it isn't working when it might be. You know, like when they deal with zoning, especially the kind of zoning where their opponent runs away a lot. A lot of players tend to struggle to get in for a while, or otherwise fail to cage the opponent in the corner, either just because they genuinely had trouble cornering them, or because they were so focused on chasing the opponent that they ended up getting overzealous and accidentally letting the opponent a huge opportunity to escape the corner, like jumping straight over them. If a player feels like they're losing, instead of sticking with their game plan, but making small, crucial adjustments, they can tend to just go apeshit and try anything and everything without thinking it through or knowing if it's even a good idea to use. And sometimes that's not even the worst strategy, but, like, again, 99 seconds, if you're more patient than your opponent, that's just a benefit to you. You need to be the one who gets more value out of the time. You can just play your game plan slower and longer if you need to, if it needs to be done, to get the data you need to figure out why it's not working or what to do differently. So anyways, how does one who is not relaxed become relaxed if they find it difficult to do so? Well, as a general mental form, I think it's important for everyone to get used to failure, or just fully embrace the act of playing to improve rather than playing to win, because winning is irrelevant and meaningless. It's not like all anxiety or salt just disappears because you tell yourself these things, obviously, but it's important to keep it in mind. At the very least, if you can experience apathy while playing, you can get into a mental state in which you can be relaxed. What do I mean by apathy? Personally, if I'm playing random strangers on ranked, especially if I'm losing to things that I know that I can beat, so there's little opportunity for me to say, like, go into the lab and learn something new, since I already know so much about the game, I know what I should be doing differently or what I could be doing, then it can be easy to feel like my time is being wasted if I don't improve in this set. If I'm not getting the longer sets against people I'm losing to and getting to adjust my game plan, now I naturally just have a bad mentality when it comes to playing just about anything, multiplayer competitive games included. I've had sessions where I stopped for the day out of frustration with the feeling like I was getting nowhere, and only to realize, funnily enough, that looking back throughout the day that I got so frustrated from, I had won almost every single match and game that I played. It was just that the frustrations in each match had stuck in my mind so much more than the actual victories themselves. So to achieve a state of apathy I can maintain, I often prefer to either focus on very specific things to try to improve in each match, while foregoing playing to win entirely, or when I play, I do so while just not caring. You know, I'll listen to something in audio form, like an audiobook, so that I don't feel like my time is being wasted when I don't see evidence of my own improvement. Other just weird things like that. This is all ironically done to create a scenario in which I can maintain a sense of apathy and relaxation, and especially it helps exercise my mental stack and serves as a good practice to start thinking about certain aspects of playing without too much effort. You want to just take a step back and look at the overarching, the overview, the peripherals, and not be hyper-fixated on the moment-to-moment of the matches. Another important factor to playing relaxed is just playing your game plan a lot, putting yourself in the same situations over and over with the same tools and the same general strategies a lot. The more you've gone to your game plan in the past, the easier it is to do so again in situations that are outside of your comfort zone for playing the game. If you're being occasionally thrown off by something weird like YOLO spiral arrows in neutral or whiff tatsus into uppercuts from Ken, you first have to remember to trust in your game plan that was forged with a lot of work and logical thought, and trust that the risk-reward is in your favor if you follow through on your game plan. But beyond that, like anything else, you just have to train yourself to be in a relaxed state by continuing to play with the intention of keeping a relaxed state. This means sticking to your game plan, accept losses with open arms, mentally committing to your choices, and from there, we come to the next major point of mental conditioning: second-guessing yourself. See, the nature of mental stack is that you look for specific things, and you can only look for so many things at a time. There are certain things that you should try to train yourself to do automatically, regardless of if you're expecting them a lot, such as anti-airing jump-ins. Now, it becomes important to focus on jump-ins when they get weird, such as, say, you play a character that has trouble anti-airing certain jump-ins, like Abigail, who is really tall, you know, and he suffers against jump-ins that don't get beaten by, like, a standing light punch or whatever. Or when jump-ins are at an angle that makes it hard to tell which anti-air you should use, or if you should jump back for an air-to-air, or if there are alterations to the jump, like delays created from dive kicks. These are all situations where you might be punished for autopiloting your anti-airs. But regardless, you do want to be able to autopilot them and spend your mental energy elsewhere. Now, there's a few ways you can improve your reactions to things like jumps. The first way is to focus on the inputs rather than watching the screen. See, even if you're not paying much attention, your body will still see the jumps in your peripheral vision and anything else going on. You don't even need to really look straight at the screen to notice jumps and anti-air them. It's kind of a mental trap just to stare at the sky, waiting for it to happen. If you're going to think about something, you're better off thinking about what you'll do when it happens. Having your hands in the correct position to execute the thing that you'll be reacting to is very important to cutting down the time between your reaction and you doing the action. Beyond that, there is a matter of focus and changing situations. See, the longer you stare at something, waiting for a specific thing to react to, the slower your reactions will get. If you're overly twitchy, if you're jumping at shadows, you aren't reacting properly. But if you keep expecting something over and over continuously over a long period of time without the situation really changing in a meaningful way, your mind will be getting duller and duller and duller, and then when it finally happens, it's difficult to keep your focus on a single thing for extended periods of time, especially with ADHD, so you're gonna miss it. But anyways, in general, I would recommend creating situations on a regular basis to prevent your brain from tiring out and being in the same situation for too long and getting dull. The change in situation could be as simple as walking towards the opponent for a bit and then walking back, or like whiffing a low jab or something. But mentally speaking, create a new situation for yourself and put your brain in a new set of mental expectations. Think of it as like reloading a new mental stack. For instance, a lot of people tend to blank immediately after anti-airing, right? Because the situation has changed and they need to load in the new set of expectations to look out for. Assuming they don't get a meaty off of the anti-air, which many characters do. Take Bison, who might do a crouching heavy punch as an anti-air, and he doesn't get a great setup off of it. If someone jumps at him right away again, and he doesn't like strike them in a way that hits him out of the jump, a lot of weak players might fail to anti-air that second jump immediately afterwards, because in their minds, they just finished with the mental stack of looking for the jump. You know, they just anti-aired, and now they're trying to reload what they should be looking for. Immediate action upon a changed situation is a prime place to take advantage of people not being mentally ready to react to certain things, and vice versa. It is very important to practice loading up your mental stack quickly upon a changing situation. Maybe, if the situation I described happens, the second jump will come in a range where Bison won't be able to crouching heavy punch again. Instead, he'll have to do like a jump medium punch or something like that. He'll definitely need to be ready with that ahead of time, because it's a slower anti-air. So as soon as he anti-airs, the Bison player mentally, if that's a threat, should be recalibrating their mental stack to, okay, this situation I've created, look for the air-to-air. As the option to deal with a cross-up jump at that angle. In general, you tend to get used to, say, blocking low when the opponent moves quickly towards you and gets into range of their good lows. If they dash at you, you instinctively block low. So when that instinct to low block comes into play, you should also practice getting used to load up the mental stack that involves jump back air-to-airing, or however else you would deal with an opponent dashing at you then jumping at a cross-up angle. Knowing that, it's also important to just practice doing things in your peripheral thought process. You want to be able to tech dash-up throws and anti-air random jumps without really needing to expect them, you know? And part of that involves widening your own sense of what to look for in neutral and being more all-encompassing. You want to train your reactions just by beating it into your hands, just the same way that you would with your basic execution. But you want to practice sort of seeing more things at once, not just focusing on one particular option and like being more loose, you know? You want your entire game plan to be beaten into your hands, you know, so everything happens automatically. But also, you want to avoid mental hiccups. That is, you want to avoid situations where you, say, see the jump, but for some reason you don't anti-air, or it's too late, or you do it, but it's too late. This kind of thing usually comes from indecision, which is often a byproduct of being uncomfortable in a match. This is pretty common when you say, think about this situation, it's probably happened to you before. You suspect that a jump might be coming. You know, you have an expectation your opponent's going to jump at you. But then, when you're expecting it, it doesn't happen. And then you doubt yourself, and then like a little bit, just a tiny bit, maybe like half a second after your expectation and it doesn't come out, then they jump. You were right all along, but your stupid brain is too busy being stupid, you're second-guessing yourself because it didn't happen when you were looking for it, and you don't execute the thing correctly because your brain is not clean. It's not handling it cleanly. This can also just happen if your wires get crossed in your head, like you're busy thinking about one thing and then suddenly something else happens. This is just an unfortunate reality of, say, your brain, someone like me and my brain. There's basically no way for me to completely avoid the chance that a rogue thought won't enter my brain right as something important is happening, and then I execute the completely wrong thing because my previous train of thought was predominant in my thought process, you know, rather than doing what I was supposed to be done. In moments like this, it's important to try to avoid expectation. You don't want to make reads in terms of, like, really, just waiting for something to happen, you know? Not as in don't make reads and predictions or search for, look for things to react to, I guess, but it's different. It's a different thing. Don't expect anything to happen when you execute something. Don't input something with the assumption that your thing will come out. Don't get ready to anti-air with an assumption that the jump will happen. Don't assume your punish is timed correctly. Don't assume that your meaty is timed correctly and start thinking about what to do immediately next, and thus not be able to correct the situation if you're wrong. If you jump the gun and load in a new mental stack based on the expectation that the situation will be the one that you want, and then it turns out you're wrong, you won't be ready for anything when it does happen, So you need to practice, like, making sure that you can load new mental stacks quickly when the situation does change, but not, like, preload new mental stacks just because you're expecting something to happen. And you want to stop your instincts from, like, predicting things in a way that you're thinking about what will happen afterwards, and just leave it, trust your actual reactions to do so when the thing comes out, and don't, like, start thinking ahead so far when you have an inkling of something that you'll be able to react to. Some things of this nature you just really need to practice. Beat into your fucking hands, man. Then practice in matches with people that you can play over and over against and really hammer it into your head. Like being ready to anti-air neutral jumps if the opponent holds up when you do a meaty throw. Or similarly, if you commit to taking the throw, somewhere in your mental stack that you're loading up, be looking for the opponent's neutral jump, so if it comes, you don't get baited on the throw. Like if a Ken has you in the corner, they neutral jump on your wake up, anti-air it, and maybe get out of the corner or something. Beat the bad habit of assuming certain things will go down, and then, like, slowly loading up your mental stack for the next situation that hasn't even happened yet. Beyond that, just like you can make risk-reward choices to inform your reads and guesses, you can also make risk-reward choices to inform your mental stacks. For instance, if you'd like to focus on reacting to, or otherwise trying to predict and stuffing the dash-ups from your opponent, but you're risking way more if you're not ready to anti-air the opponent and keep them in the corner, if you're also looking to, like, whiff punish or anything like that, you then probably keep your mental stack on what is more vital to your longevity. That being things that affect your corner positioning, Be ready to stop aerial movement and tech dash-up throws. And the other stuff like that is not as vital right away. So, say a very common situation, you're cornered, the opponent's applying pressure to you, and they jump over your head and do their cross-up jumping button in the corner, and then you block it, hopefully, and then, let's say they're going to, like, do a block string or, like, back throw you, or they'll do, like, a little thing, like, plus on block, a little block string, and then jump back over your head so they can get out of the corner again. Right when you're in that situation, you don't really need to look for anything else. Like, option select tech the throw if they're trying to go for the throw, maybe V-shift if you need to, but the point is, ignoring that and just thinking about him jumping back over your head again, at that point, you risk-reward wise, you really don't need to be looking for anything else. Like, let's say you block a whole block string, and he dashes up to you and, like, back throws you, or he walks forward and pokes you, or does some other stuff. I don't really care. Is it really vital for you to be looking for that and stopping that? Why don't you just accept that if it happens, and look to react to and predict and stop the much more rewarding thing in that situation, where just accept that that he's going to, do some pressure, keep moving up at you, and so on. Ignore it, just crouch block or whatever, and then just stare at the sky so that when he jumps, you can jump back air to air him and keep him in the corner, so that now he's screwed himself over, he's put himself in the corner. In these situations, like, load your mental stack up for what is going to be the absolute best and most important, like, most likely and most valuable if you're able to get it right, if you're able to see it and then stop it, rather than just, worrying about possibilities and trying to react to and look for things that you can realistically ignore and just accept if they do happen in those situations. So yeah.